sort of feel like I've been on like a reconnaissance mission recently. I I've spent a lot of time in my life in different types of movement contexts. Like I've taught yoga, been a yoga instructor. I've trained in martial arts, from mixed martial arts and Aikido to Muay Thai. I trained in Ido Portal's methodology, like movement culture. I've been to many, many ecstatic dances. In high school, I played some basketball and some football. I weightlifted and Qigong, Tai Chi. And like each of these different places has like a different living culture to it, right? Like a way in which the philosophy that underpins it, the tradition that it's rooted in, the types of people that are attracted to it, and that builds like a living energetic field, or like a living culture that's that you can feel. Like when you go and you spend time with a mixed martial arts tradition, there's like a feel to it, and of course that also depends on where it is and who's running the space and that sort of thing. And then if you go and you spend time at a yoga studio, there's a quality, there's like a feeling to it, and that maybe it's a like a personally owned yoga studio versus like a giant corporate yoga studio, and like the different feelings and flavors that come from those places. But recently, because I moved away from the area where I was training some Muay Thai, I've been I've been lifting a lot. I've been lifting a lot of weights, and I've been at sort of a corporate gym, and it feels like I've gotten a chance to like step into that energetic field and feel it. And I like to lift weights. I like the feeling of pushing my body in that way. And of course I mix it in with yoga, and I mix it in with some of the more fluid, mobility oriented things that I do as well, to do my best to balance it out. But I wanted to speak to this particular piece because it's like I'm there, and I'm getting to feel how some of these qualities live in me, and how they seem to live in our culture more widely. And I think it's an important discussion because it also helps sort of widen the lens of what we mean by somatics, which is the work that I do to some degree, and it's a word that's becoming more popular. And I think that there's an interesting distinction when you go into gym culture. You start to get a sense of what the difference is between something like a somatic practice and sort of like a biomechanical practice. And something that I feel when I go into a gym is there's sort of an underlying competitive quality that's going on. There's a kind of tension, and I notice a lot of like fear. There's sort of this undergirding of fear, and this is different in different gyms and in different contexts. And of course it's also touching my own undigested fear. I have assault situations from my life where I've been attacked by pretty scary individuals. But the reason that I bring this up is that in our culture there's sort of this mechanistic way that we treat our bodies. There's a myriad of podcasts right now that tell you what to eat, when to eat it, when to work out, what kinds of workouts are going to get you the best looking abs or butt or whatever it may be, when to do your ice bath, how often you should sauna. There's lots and lots of experts that are really dialed into the biomechanics of the body and how to in a sense, manipulate and train the body to get the results that we want. And I think this is, it's really brilliant that we've come to this level to understand the body and our metabolism and the neurobiology to such a degree that we can work with it to create more vital bodies. But there's a piece that's missing in that, which is the psycho-spiritual emotional side that doesn't respond very well to rigidity, to a mechanistic perspective, and that requires a kind of poetic relationship that gets lost in contexts like box gyms, where if I just whip my body as much as I need to and do these particular things, and I'll be able to make myself look a certain way, or I'll be able to perform in a certain way. And again, there's a lot of brilliance behind that, and it can be done in a way that's really intelligent. But I am curious about that piece that gets forgotten, the part that needs to cry and sprawl out and sort of move in non-linear patterns and be messy and yearn. Where do we create the room for that kind of wildness that wants to come through us? It's like there are aspects of our soulfulness that are wild, and they require room to relate in ways that don't have to do with our performance. And they require room for us to give them space to express themselves unimpeded, and that don't have to do with getting it perfect so that we have the right shaped glutes or the perfect amount of sleep or whatever it may be. So I just want to speak to this because I think it's interesting in a lot of different places, but in particular with this concept of somatics, it's gotten, to some degree, it's become synonymous with trauma because, really wonderful theories and philosophies like somatic experience that really work with how it is that we process trauma through our bodies. But somatics, to me, remains a wider lens than just about trauma. It's about including the whole human. It includes the body, but it also includes the psyche, the soul, the emotions. It includes the thoughts, the mind. It's a willingness to bring the entirety of the human into the process, into the movement. So you can do something like weightlifting and also include the other parts of yourself. But there are other movement processes and patterns and practices that intentionally are weaving these two worlds together, creating enough room to get interesting movement exercise, but also room that you get to feel the parts of yourself that are often orphaned or pushed away. Now, the other piece that I wanted to speak to, because it feels really alive right now in our culture writ large, it's just sort of part of our collective churning, has to do with masculinity and masculinity and the mechanization of the body, which, I think that's the first thing that I noticed going back to the gym, this type of gym, and like training there consistently is what it means to be a masculine being in today's culture. And I'm getting ready to turn 39, and there's, so I get in my feeds and in my algorithms, it's constantly pushing, erectile dysfunction pills and like hair pills, and particularly testosterone, this idea of like trying to maintain masculine vitality. And this way of sort of treating the body as a machine and getting as big and as strong and ripped as possible, I often feel that there's a part of the self that's getting squished and pushed to the side. And I can't help but feel like that is mirrored in our culture as well, where I see young men that don't know how to relate in a emotionally mature way, in a way that feels like it includes the fullness of themselves and it allows for the fullness of others. Yeah, and in some of the traditional depth psychology texts, Carl Jung's work, Marie-Louise von Franz, some of these different individuals, there's a pretty clear understanding that it's actually through the honoring of what might be called the feminine principle that the masculine principle is then allowed to flourish. That it's not by way of leaning harder and harder and harder into masculinity, which seems to be the move, right? Like, if I can just be more based, if I can just have my frame even stronger, if I can be just even more edgy or more misogynistic, or that will provide me the sense of my like masculine groundedness. The truth is that when we nourish the feminine side, the masculine side is able to actually grow and root down. A lot of men are looking for a kind of solidity in their masculinity that can't come by placing their strength on top of their insecurities. They actually need to root down lower than that and feel the fear, feel the uncertainty, also feel the deeper love, the deeper aspects of their creative force. That creates a kind of ease within oneself that then it's not so much of an efforting to be masculine or feminine. You just are in relationship with your essence. So anyways, these are things that I'm working on in myself and feeling in myself and noticing in our culture, and while I'm building my strong muscles and experimenting with my own process of soulful fidelity and my own process of maintaining balance. I just wanted to bring back my reconnaissance from spending some time in the gym world. So thanks for hearing me.